We've also got a sort of an open question for both of you here, from James in Herndon, Virginia. You'd like to know if there's any particular chapter or character from the Badab War books you'd like to see sculpted, or indeed sculpt yourself.
Well,
we have actually talked about this,
and frankly, none I could sculpt myself, because it would just look like an appalling mess of an amoeba. But Sam has the talent. I could be greedy and say all of them, because obviously I've kind of imagined them and had them find little battles in my head, and I would love to see them all get miniatures. That probably won't happen, but depending on public opinion, it might. You never quite know. But I think of the ones that aren't done yet, I think Sam's got a particular favourite.
I think the Salamander Venerable Dreadnought is the one that we'd love to have a
this might be, well, not quite a spoiler, but certainly a preview. Obviously, there's quite a lot of characters in Imperial Armour Volume 9. In 10, there's another 10 characters, 2 of which are Salamanders ones. One of which is a particular Venerable Dreadnought that I came up with called Brearth Ashmantle, who is pretty mean for a Salamander, but I think Sam quite likes him.
Yeah, I do definitely like the idea of him, and working up the ideas again that Al has come up with in the book, and also seeing some of the Black Library artwork as well from some of the novels, taking some of that and bringing it into the character of the Dreadnought. Mm-hmm. But you have got a very strong idea. I don't think you can probably go into that yet. No. But yeah, there's some very strong ideas that Al has that I'd like to take and run with, really, because I do like doing the Dreadnoughts. I think they come out quite nicely. Mm-hmm. They've got a good form to them in the first place, a good shape, a strong character, and just to build on top of that would be, with this particular character, I think would work out really well.
Okay. Similarly, Evan from Seattle and Bernard from Singapore. Both would like
good old Bernard.
Good old Bernard. Bernard from Singapore. Both like to know how you go about preventing each new set of miniatures or each new chapter, be it Red Scorpions, Executioners, or Astral Claws, from being just another chapter. How do you go about translating the background text to the miniatures?
Well, that's kind of more down to you than it is me. In terms of conceiving of the chapters. Just another codex chapter is a bit of a mistake in some ways, because they're all interesting in their own dimensions and their own character.
They've all got certain points and character that.
I mean, within that codex patterning, there's a huge variety, not only in sort of on the tabletop that you can get away with, but also things like character and desire and history and also the things that they despise or that they fear can be different. So that you can really bring out different aspects of the character and background apart from anything else.
And play on those parts for the design of the actual of the miniature.
Yeah. By sort of almost historical accident, you would say, in the first of the 2 Badab War books, a lot of the chapters are involved, especially on the loyalist side, are slightly more straight-laced and more down-the-line codex than some of the ones that turn up later. There's some, how best to put it, some darker hearts on the loyalist sides involved in the second book, where they're according to pursue campaigns of annihilation against fellow Space Marines. Even if they've turned renegade, they're not chaos in that sense. They're not the enemy, the great enemy. They're something else. And also, if people have probably read the book, but there's some sort of Inquisition double dealing and schemes going off, as well as all sorts going off in the Maelstrom Zone that needs the case that darker forces are drawn in. Darker but still Imperial. The Imperium of Man is a great and brutal place. Its shadows hide quite a few monsters of its own, as well as the ones outside. And one of the great fun things to do, I'm glancing behind me at the many chapters of the Badab War, the great fun things to do was extrapolate on some chapters that hadn't seen much light for many years, and also or had never had background, and detail the ones that you don't just get in the Space Marine Codex. I mean, one of the great benefits of working here is that we have, within reason, the power to invent and create new and extra levels of detail that then become part of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, which is a great pleasure and privilege, if I'm honest, to do.
So you can actually,
I'm
reality...
Sam, I apologise. I'm rambling.
I think... sorry, you've thrown me there. We then get the opportunity to go down routes that possibly we wouldn't have gone down before, and that's what also makes it interesting. I know I said earlier it's nice to have a strict brief or a good pointer in which way to take it, but you can, while you're sculpting. I personally, as I'm sculpting, I can go down routes that do end up quite interesting and bring just different bits of detail into the character and build the character up.
You've mentioned the artwork profiles of the Space Marines. What level of work goes into those? Who's involved with the creation?
Oh, massive degrees of work. I'm nowhere near talented enough to knock those out, I'm afraid. We've got a really brilliant book team at Forge World that do pretty much all of the production of the book themselves. There's several guys. There's Sam Lamont, Kent Mills, Paul Rudge, who's in charge of them all, in Ian Strickland now. And they do all of the profiles themselves. And that's both the drawings based on the colouring in, and do a lot of the actual creative work involved, because again we're allowed to invent to a certain extent, and a lot of their creativity goes into that. And also do things like the great maps that we put in the book, as well as illustration and the art. I mean, the whole book's a very much a project of, I mean, I'm a
team,
of the team. I might write and originate them, but there wouldn't be anywhere near as good without them. Sort of the great effort that everybody puts in and contributes, right the way across the Forge World, from the office guys who comment and tell me I'm wrong, and
that's the nice thing about Forge World, isn't it? Because there's a lot of opinions, and that can help.
Yeah, it's not a dictatorial kind of place in that sense. It's a very open, really quite creative environment, so that's good.
There's obviously already quite a bit of excitement about the Badab War books. What exclusive hints can you give us about what's coming in the second book?
Yeah, they've been doing really well, which I'm of course happy about, as I get to keep my job. The second one, well, no surprise, Huron losers. That's not a revelation, but
does he?
Yeah, sorry about that, Sam. But there's lots of dark events and dirty dealings on the way, and there may be, as always, but there may be a few surprises as well for people. Like I said, we've got a lot more characters. We've got a Siege Vanguard army list, which is very specifically a variant Space Marine army list. It's not really intended as a general army list, but it'll let you do things like have squadrons of Space Marine tanks and other terrifying options at the tabletop, but also you have to do mortal win and bits and pieces like that. Again, another 10 characters. Excellent. Lots of stuff on some mysterious chapters and things, Space Marine chapters, that is to say, and things revealed. Oh, and for those out there that love it, as I do in a quiet way, there's some Battle Fleet Gothic information. There's not been any new Gothic stuff for a while, and there's some I managed to cram some Battle Fleet Gothic in at the end.